Hello, everybody. Frank Fiorentino here with my co-host Dick Reedy.
Hi,
Good
Frank. How
afternoon,
are you?
Dick. How are you?
Good.
We have not been with you people all during the Red Sox baseball season. We talked to you prior to spring training, and here we are 2 weeks before the season ends. Today is the Monday after the three-game series with the New York Mets, so we're going to try to give you a little time frame. And Dick, did we ever think we'd see 103 wins at this time of the year?
Never did.
Never did. Quite a season.
It's been remarkable, to be honest with you.
It has been remarkable. But we have had some very good victories over some not so good teams. And that's how you win, when you beat these kinds of teams.
Gotta do it, yep.
And I think, Dick, your little take on what you've seen this season.
Well, I was kind of impressed when the Sox started the year. Their pitching was strong. They looked pretty good. And they did that for a few months. And then they seemed to, at least my perspective was, they seemed to have lost some of the killer instinct that good teams have. I think they were 50% in every month they won games. 50% of the games they played, they won them. But I was kind of disappointed in their pitching as the year went on. You know, it wasn't as strong as they started out, and they started to lose some of that killer instinct, as I said. And fortunately, they had some breaks, and some of the players came through for them. You know, Mookie Betts, Andrew Benintendi, you know, of course, J.D. Martinez. They were terrific. But the other part of the club, at some points, they seemed to be dead.
Those three guys that carried this team during the year, basically. Yeah. The pitching was, at best, mediocre, but they scored a lot of runs. They led the major leagues in runs scored.
Yeah, they did.
And that's what propelled them to the number of victories that they had. I do agree with you that after the All-Star break, they sort of fell back to reality, if we want to call it that. But the 4 straight wins over the Yankees in August has put the Red Sox where they are today. Because when the Yankees came into town, they were 5 games ahead of the Red Sox were 5 games ahead of the Yankees, and they beat them 4 in a row.
Yeah, that was.
And they dropped them down to 9 games behind the Sox. And as we sit here today, they're at 11 games behind the Red Sox. So in reality, give or take a game or so, the Yankees and the Red Sox have sort of played the same baseball for the last month, but they haven't gained anything on the Red Sox. I think their pitching is still suspect.
I agree with you.
I think the pitching is still suspect. Mookie Betts has had an exceptional first half of the year.
No
He's
question.
back to reality in the second half, but he's still a #1 All-Star player. I mean, he went into the All-Star game batting .362, and he's now batting .338. So he's dropped in his batting average. He hasn't been hitting with power as much as he did at the beginning of the year, but he is a threat all the time.
No question about it.
No question about it. Benintendi had a hot couple of months, and he sort of leveled off. And even Martinez, who was hitting at .330, .333, .335, a little bit of the power is gone. He hasn't had many home runs in the last 3 to 4 weeks. But all in all, the Red Sox have been able to squeeze out a lot of good victories over this past season, more than we thought was going to happen during the year. But now, Dick, I think we're going to see the Red Sox a little weak behind the plate as far as batting is concerned. I mean, we have
You're talking about the catching.
And no catching. No catchers are hitting, and none of them are hitting. Swihart seems to be as good as anybody right now, and he was on the trade block for a long time.
He was.
Yeah. Leone, I don't think he's had a hit in about 3 weeks. He's really been, you know, in the doldrums, as they say. But Devers has been a disappointment, in my opinion.
Yeah, he has.
He was a will beater last year to some extent, but pitching catches up to these guys that come into the majors and knock the ball all over the place for a first month or two, and then the pitchers catch up to them. So I think he's been a disappointment this year. His fielding hasn't been much better than it was last year.
Well, he's leading. I think he's leading the team in errors.
He's leading the team in errors. He's got 24 errors, and most of them are a lot of them are throwing errors, but a lot of them are errors that are of omission too. There's 4, 5, 6 that should be errors that are not.
Yeah.
So his fielding needs a lot of improvement. I think a surprise overall this year has been Bogarts.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got a 290 batting average, and he's got over 20 home runs. And I think he's played good defense.
He has.
He has played good defense. Second base was a weak spot, but Nunez seemed to be the fill-in for second base, and I think he's been all right as a fill-in player. He's a bench player. He's not an everyday player, but he's played fairly well in that role.
I think his performance at third base has not been as bad either.
That's his position, really, is third base. He's played very well at third base, Dick. Yeah, I really agree that he's played very well at third base. And I think at first base we have a little, Mitch Moreland with 250, got hot for about a month. And then they made two good acquisitions. So your opinion on the acquisitions?
Well, I think the acquisition you're referring to was one of Ian Kinsler,
Right,
and the other was Steve Pearce.
right.
Steve Pearce has been remarkable when he first got here. He hit a number of home runs, and for power. I mean, not just a home run, but really good shots out of the park. And I think his performance in the field has been good.
Yeah.
And Ian Kinsler is got speed. He's got a good bat. He's got some power. He can steal bases. I thought that acquisition was a key acquisition.
I think it was a key acquisition.
Especially in light of Pedroia's situation.
Yeah, well, Bedoya didn't obviously play 3 games this year. And Nunez, playing second base, had very little range.
Right.
And I think Kinsler has done the job at second base in terms of his positioning.
He's been
himself.
a Gold Glove fielder.
Right. He's been a Gold Glove fielder. So I think they made a couple of good acquisitions with those two people. Again, we need to look at the pitching, Dick.
Weak.
Sale is in trouble at this point, in my opinion. He pitched well until about 3 weeks ago when he said he had inflammation in his shoulder. And now they're trying to bring him back. I don't know whether this is caution or concern. It's one or the other, in my opinion, that the Red Sox either are trying to be very cautious with him or are they very concerned about his situation?
I personally didn't think they managed him that well in the sense that they let him pitch a number of pitches beyond the normal 90 pitches, okay? He would go to 110, 112. You know, if the guy's got a strong arm or you're trying to protect his arm, you may want to think about, just let him do 90. It will bring our bullpen in.
Well, they did do that better than last year, but not as good as we thought, you and I both think that they should have done. They gave him 2 weeks off after the All-Star break. He didn't pitch for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he came down with this so-called inflammation. And I'm not so sure that it's not still there. As you've noticed the last 2 weeks, he pitched 1 inning last week, then he went to the bullpen and threw another 20. He pitched yesterday, he threw 42. I think what they're trying to do is bring him back to his 90-so pitches, but his velocity was down, and I don't think he should have been throwing 100 miles an hour at this stage. But I think they're trying to bring him back to a 90-pitch game, and we still have 2 weeks, a little over 2, almost 3 weeks before the playoffs start, which is October 5th for the Red Sox. So I think they're trying to bring him back so that he doesn't have this soreness for the first game. And they're going to pitch him as long as they can in that first game. But if this comes back after that first game in the playoffs, I think the Red Sox have a big uphill battle.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you.
And then we got Pearce, who's done pretty well the last 2.5 months.
Pearce as the first baseman?
Yeah, no, the pitcher.
Oh, Price.
I'm sorry, I said Pearce. Sorry.
Yeah.
Price.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Price.
Price seems to have come back into his own now.
Price has good control. He's pitching to the corners. He's pitching to the knees. He's pitching to the upper strike zone. And he's not walking anybody.
And he hasn't sacrificed any speed.
And he's down to about 93, 92, but that's where he is now. He's no longer a 99 or 100-mile-an-hour pitcher.
No,
but he's done very well. And he's their number 2 guy, in my opinion, right now. Or, Sale number 1, him number 2. And then we got Porcello.
Porcello, you know, it's funny about him. We've seen enough games with Porcello. He looks fabulous in some games. In other games, you say, where the heck did we get this guy?
Right, he's inconsistent.
He gives up too many home runs.
27 to date.
See,
27 home runs to date. That's a lot of home runs.
it sure is.
Yeah. So we're not sure what we're going to get from him. But he's going to be the number 3 starter.
Yeah, no question about it.
Right. And if we need a number 4 starter, it's going to be Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's good when he's good, but he's another pitcher that we don't know what we're going to get, out of him. Those are the 4 starting pitchers that I see that the Red Sox have.
I agree with you. They're not going to bring back that Nicola
No.
to do any.
No.
Maybe in relief, possibly.
Well, they got 14 pitchers, Dick, in the bullpen right now.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of pitches. So I sort of narrowed this down to think they're going to carry somewhere between 11 and 12 pitches in the playoffs, which is the first playoffs, by the way, are 3 out of 5. And they
Yep.
begin, I believe it's October 5th. The first,
Yeah, it is.
it's a Friday. So they're playing the first 2 at Fenway, then the next 2 would be on the road. And if they went to a 5th game, it would be at home. So we got to look at what the Red Sox are going to do for this roster. They have to name a roster before these playoffs. And if you're following the Sox right now, I think Cora is trying to see if he can find somebody or some bodies that will be their 7th, 8th inning pitchers.
Yeah.
And because we know Kimbrel will be in the 9th. But Kimbrel has been a little bit
Shaky.
in the last month and a half, another 2 months. But he's still going to be their closer in the 9th inning. So what do we have here? Bonds is hurt right now.
Yeah, he is.
He's got whether he is good in 3 weeks, we don't know. But I think Bonds is probably the best of the lot. And some of these guys haven't really done the job, Dick. Kelly is one.
Joe Kelly has fallen by the wayside.
Yep.
He's got a great fastball, but you never know where it's going to go.
And he doesn't have control.
He doesn't.
He does not have control. I mean, he hit 2 batters the other night with 2 strikes on them each, and he hit both of them. So he has not been a reliable pitcher. I really don't see anybody in these 14 pitchers that I can really say I have confidence in.
I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of question marks in that bullpen.
Many question marks. So I think I think Bonds would be one of them that they would keep. I think that Evaldi came up like a house of fire for 2 games.
Oh, Jesus.
But I think they're going to keep him in the bullpen. I think they would keep Brazier in the bullpen too. He's been pretty good.
Yeah, he has.
I think he's been pretty good. But we need a left-hander in the bullpen. And who do we have that you can put your mind to and say, gee, this guy's going to do the job for me? You got Pomerantz, who I don't think is going to do the job.
He's not going to do. He's too inconsistent.
He's very inconsistent. Robbie Scott, I don't see him doing the job. I think Thornburg, maybe, they would keep him on the roster. I'm not sure, though. Workman is another one that's done okay. But if no Bonds, I think Workman would be one of those pitchers. Hembry is another guy. Do we have any faith in what he can do?
No. I mean, it's always a shot in the dark.
It's a shot in the dark. With all of these guys, can they do it or will they not do it? And then we got a knuckleballer. But do you want a knuckleballer in the 8th inning with the score 3-2 and a man on second base?
That's kind of. I mean, they've been talking about that recently. Can the guy deliver? And they talk about what was his name? Tim Wakefield did.
Yeah.
But Tim Wakefield, he was pretty good at what he did.
He was. But this guy, I don't know if they're going to put him on the roster. And the other guy is Brian Johnson, who has been a starting left-handed pitcher for them. He's okay for 3 to 4 innings. But if you're going to have a middle relief pitcher, you need somebody in the 6th or 7th innings, and he'd be somebody that might be the guy that they would use.
They've been using him recently for an inning or 2, and I haven't been impressed. There was one game he looked good, then the other game he did not. So you really don't know.
You don't know. So we gotta. I think if we looked at Kimbrel, Bonds, I think Wright will probably be one of the guys that they would have in there. Brazier, Evaldi, and then depending on what happens to Bronze, is Hembry going to be in there? Is Workman going to be in there? I think one of those two guys will be in there. The rest of them, Poinio, he's not going to be in there. He's another left-handed.
Yeah, no.
I don't see him being in there. Velasquez, I don't see him being in there. I think he's got his work cut out from the pick 7 relief pitchers here.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have, Lightning could strike, but I have no confidence that these guys are going to carry us through the playoffs.
I just don't see that. And Dick, if the Red Sox face, and you're only facing the top 3 pitchers when you're in the playoffs of any team. You're not facing the number 4 and 5 starters in playoff baseball. Those number 4 or 5 starters are probably in the bullpen for these other teams that are the number 4th and 5th starters.
Yeah,
bullpen.
I agree.
I think so. The Red Sox, I don't know whether they can have it. If they get knocked out in the first round, it will be a huge disappointment after all the euphoria
Oh my God.
that's gone on with 103 wins, and they're probably going to break the record for the most wins by a Red Sox team.
I think you're right. I think that
106, I believe, is the record.
it is a record, and but the thing is this, as I say, lightning in the bottle.
Yeah.
You never know.
It all comes down to what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah. Lightning, if they work it, if it works out well, and luck works to their advantage, they'll Coral will look like a manager of the year and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. I just think though they've given us an exciting year to this point, but if we can't see them they got knocked off in the playoffs in the first round the last 2 years.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of confidence in them.
I don't have confidence in the relief pitching. I really don't. And as I said, Porcello, he could pitch a wonderful game, or he can get blown out in the second inning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen him recently pitch almost hitless ball, and yet the next game he gets.
He had a one-hitter against the Yankees.
What happened the next game though?
He gave up 3 home runs in I think 4 innings in the next game. So this has been the way he's operated. So I'm not sure what we're going to have, but I think it'll be interesting. Dick, let's take a look at the teams that are in the playoffs. It's pretty much solidified now who's in the playoffs and in what we are looking at here. The wild card in the American League is down to 2 teams. It's the Yankees.
And Cleveland.
No, the Yankees and the A's.
Oh, the A's, yeah.
Right, the Yankees and the A's. The 3 division winners are the Red Sox, Cleveland, and Houston. And then you got 2 teams in the wild card. It's a 1-game playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So the Yankees are going to play the A's either in Oakland or at Yankee Stadium. 1 game. That winner will play the Red Sox. So the Red Sox could be facing the Yankees again in the playoffs. They finish up with them the last 3 games of the season at Fenway. And then the Red Sox won't be playing after that for a week almost, 5 days until that following Friday. The A's are 2 games behind the Yankees. The team with the best record between the Yankees and the A's will have the home field for that 1 playoff game. So I would hope the A's beat them out, but they're 2 games back in the loss column.
I think the A's have got a good club.
They do have a good team.
They have a great manager. Yeah. They're aggressive in their play.
Yep.
And I think that's very important.
I would love to see the Yankees go out to Oakland and play. Fly out 3,000 miles and then fly back 3,000 miles and be tired, and even if they win, and then play the Red Sox and see what happens.
That'd be good because they have to put on a good show in the playoff. The 1 game.
No. And if you remember when the Red Sox beat the Yankees 4 in a row, the Yankees were without Judge, and they still are. And Sanchez, their catcher. Both those guys have a lot of power. And I think that's what the Yankees were missing when they were playing the Red Sox. And since then, neither guy has really produced much power. So I think in that respect, you can say what you want to say about the Yankees. I still think they're a major threat. If these guys come back, if Judge is going to come back, and they're telling me that his wrist is still very sore, so he may not. And Sanchez is back, but he's not hitting with the power. So that's where they stand with the Yankees. They're 8-5. with the Yankees.
Wow.
But basically, they get 6 of the last 12 games now with the Yankees, and they're not going to mean much. So you can't go by what you see with the Yankees. The Red Sox magic number's 2. So all I have to do is beat the Yankees once.
And by the way, when we do that, when we win it, we're not going to be playing our best players.
No. Everybody is going to be well rested and well positioned to open the playoffs. You cannot say they're tired, they're not tired. They're going to be well rested, because basically that's what he's doing now. He's going to platoon some of these guys, etc. And he's done that with Brock Holt the last few games, who's been hitting the hell out of the baseball.
He looks great, doesn't he?
He looks great. But he stays hot for 2 weeks, and then, then we don't know where he is for the next 2 months.
That's why he's a sub.
Right. The Astros look like a good team to me.
Oh, they are.
The Red Sox are 4-3 with the Astros this year in their series. But you saw some playoff baseball when the Astros were here at Fenway for 3 games. That was playoff baseball.
That was, you're right.
That kind of baseball was playoff baseball. With Cleveland, Cleveland's clinched their first place already. They're 14 games ahead of Minnesota. So they get Cleveland for 3 games this coming weekend, but they're not going to mean much to either team. So you can't go by that. But during the season, Cleveland was here. They haven't been to Cleveland. The Red Sox have not been to Cleveland this year.
Isn't
They're
that
going to be there for the
remarkable?
first time next weekend.
Wow.
What a scheduling.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. And against the A's, the Red Sox are 2-4.
Wow.
So-
I think the A's have given us, by that indication, they've given us a difficult time.
Very difficult time.
This year.
Yeah, they have given us a very difficult time.
Even in the past, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, this year, what means so much to us.
I think what's going to happen here is the Red Sox, if we don't get production out of the top 3 hitters, or 4 hitters, including Bogarts, I think the Red Sox will be in trouble, because if you look down the line after that, you don't know what you're going to get down there. You know, your catching is very weak in terms of hitting.
Hitting, yeah,
All right.
poor.
The Nunez has been pretty good as a fill-in for third base for the last month and a half, and then at second base. So he's been pretty well, but he's a 250 hitter. All right. So what do we have? Kinsler is a pretty good hitter, but he's still a 250 hitter. But he can be a threat. First base, you got Moreland, who's very good defensively, but we got Pierce at first base, who's been pretty good too. But we need some production out of those last 4 batters in the lineup.
Well, if you recall, during the middle of the year, Pierce was hitting extremely well. The other guy, first baseman, what's his name?
Moreland.
Moreland was hitting pretty well.
Yep.
He's fallen off the.
He's what he is. He's a 250 to 260 hitter.
You're right.
He's a 20 home run hitter, and that's what he is. So he's what he is, and but he's good defensively. So I think the Red Sox are going to be playing the A's or the Yankees. I think they have a shot to win in that series, but I don't know where they go from there, because I think the Astros are going to be right there until the end.
Oh yeah, they're quite a good club,
Yeah.
good organization.
Yeah.
And don't forget, if they don't put Moreland in first place, they could also put the Swihart.
If Swihart can play, yeah, he's going to be on this roster.
Yeah.
I think Vasquez is going to be the odd man out.
Yeah.
But they might keep 3 catchers, because Swihart can play first base.
Yeah.
They can put him in the outfield. Let's hopefully they don't
A
have to.
lot of flexibility with
A
that
lot
guy.
of flexibility with Swihart. Right, he can play third base too if he has to. So I think they're going to keep Swihart on the roster for the playoffs. And I think if they're going to keep an extra pitcher, which means they would keep 12, including the starting pitchers, then I think that Vasquez might be the odd man out there.
Yeah, that's true. I can't get over catching. These guys, they catch 1,000 plus pitches a year.
Yep.
And they can't hit a darn pitch.
They kind of, yeah. Leon has really had a tough
Oh
time.
my God, he's terrible.
He's really had a tough time here. So I don't know where we're going to go with that. So I think,
Smart catcher, but
yeah, it's there. I think the Red Sox are as good. The team that scares me the most are the Astros. I think they can beat the Yankees. The Yankees pitching has been suspect this year as well. I don't think there's any standout team other than the Astros in the American League. There are good teams. The Yankees are good. Cleveland is good.
yep.
Cleveland's got a couple of good pitchers, and the A's are good. So I think you're going to have a very interesting playoff situation here.
But I think Cleveland has a good manager in Francona.
Yep.
Same way with the A's out there in Oakland. Their manager is pretty good.
Pretty good. Oakland lost their number one pitcher though with arm trouble. The guy that hit the Red Sox.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's out for the season. But Oakland's been winning anyway. They made a big run here. So if I had to pick it now, I'd say the Yankees will play the playoff game in Yankee Stadium, unless they really fall apart, and the Red Sox can beat them up here, and then face them in the playoffs. So they go to Oakland, hoping they lose enough so that they can go to Oakland and play there.
Yeah, that would be.
And then we'd be playing the A's and not the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to spend a couple of minutes. We talk about why didn't Dombrowski go at the trade deadline to get a top-line relief pitcher. And there was a guy out there named Osuna who was very good.
Yeah.
But he demands a lot of money and he demands a lot of attention. And I think the salary cap had something to do with the Red Sox not spending any more money. They are one of two teams over the salary cap. The Red Sox have a $234 million payroll, which is over the salary cap. And they got a 20%, which is 1.97. I'm sorry, 284, not 284. And on August 31st, the threshold was 197. So they got a 20% tax above the 197. They got another 12% over that when they over 217, which they are. And they got another 42% when they're over 237. So they got a huge salary cap issue here. And they're going to put a lot of money into the coffers of Major League Baseball. And I think they're going to be facing that next year. I think next year they're going to be at 206, which is still going to be above the salary cap level.
Yep.
And Price has an opt-out of his contract next year. So he could be opting out for big numbers. No more Hanley for $38 million. And, are they going to keep Nunez, Kelly, Pomerantz? I don't know. Those will be all off the books. And Porcello, if he's traded, may be off the books too, because he had an $82.5 million contract. Another $20 million for him.
What I find interesting is here you got these experienced guys like Dombrowski, and he's aware of these salary cap situations. He didn't manage it very well.
He did not manage this very well. The SAM system is not strong.
No.
So when they had to
Not
go and
anymore.
trade for these guys, they don't have enough to give up. And that's what's happened to them. I think we got about a minute left, Dick. So in summary, your thoughts with the Red Sox in the playoffs.
I don't feel extremely confident, okay? Their pitching is weak. There were times during the year where they were absolutely dead. You watch the game and they're not hitting, they're not fielding properly. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence. They play the Yankees. I think they can beat the Yankees. Against Houston, they're going to have some difficulty, or against Cleveland, I think they'll have some trouble as well. So we'll have to see what happens. So if they get by the Yankees, that's one thing, but I don't have a lot of faith in the next two clubs to face.
I'm with you. I think they can get by the first round, which is a step better than last year. But I don't know whether they can go beyond that. And I think you have to look at pitching. And I don't know where this pitching I think the Astros are very strong pitching-wise.
Yeah.
And I think Cleveland has enough in their bullpen. They strengthened their bullpen during the trading deadline.
They did.
So they did. They had a weak bullpen, but they're pretty strong right now. And I think that both teams have some pretty good hitters on their teams as far as power hitters. And then Casacion is a big power hitter with Cleveland. And the Astros have 3 or 4 guys that can hit. Gurriel can hit. They all can hit at the Astros. So in summary, I think the Red Sox can win. They need a little luck, but I think let's hope they can do it. And we'll see you after this baseball season, everybody. And again, thank you, Dick. And let's hope the Red Sox can go all the way.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, everybody.